Hello. Yes, Philip, I'm here. I'm on my way up. I'll be there in 5 minutes, okay? Beth mumbled, carelessly tossing her phone into her bag. She glanced at her watch and gasped. She was half an hour late for the client meeting. Traffic in the big city was simply impossible to beat. Beth quickly grabbed her bag and document folder, hurrying out of the car. The folder slipped from her hands, and as she bent to retrieve it, she spotted her husband's Toyota in the parking lot. There was no mistaking it. The license plate confirmed that Mickey, her husband, had left his car here. Confused, she pulled out her phone to call Mickey, who was supposed to be away on a week-long business trip. He didn't answer. Still puzzled, Beth entered the building and called the elevator. She pushed aside her questions. Right now, she needed to focus on securing an exclusive contract for an elite apartment. This was supposed to be her most promising deal in years as a realtor. After selling this luxury apartment, she would help Philip find a suitable country house. When Beth stepped out of the elevator, a handsome young man, Philip, greeted her with a warm smile. He led her into the apartment and described his vision for his dream house. After photographing the property and discussing the details, they signed the contract. "I place myself in your capable hands," Philip said appreciatively as he opened the door. "Your professionalism is truly admirable." "Thank you. I hope to deliver results soon." Philip walked her to the elevator. As Beth pressed the button, her husband emerged from the neighbouring apartment, accompanied by a young, pregnant woman. She stared at her husband with a glare. The stunned woman had no words, but Mickey had plenty of them. He immediately pounced on his wife, numbed by surprise, with reproaches and accusations. "So, this is what you do while I'm away, gallivanting around with strange men." Mickey, knowing Beth only handled country properties and never city apartments, felt certain of his suspicions. "How dare you!" Beth exclaimed. "Look who's talking. Is this why you're always in such a hurry? Have you been bringing him to our home when I'm not there?" Philip couldn't bear Mickey's vile accusations. Though he desperately wanted to put this arrogant, hypocritical man in his place, he controlled himself. "I suggest you calm down immediately, or I may lose my composure. Aren't you behaving rather inappropriately?" Seeing Beth on the verge of tears, Philip gently touched her trembling shoulder and guided her back into his apartment to help her collect herself. Beth sank into a chair, pressing her palm against her mouth to suppress her sobs. Philip brought her water, and after a sip, she managed to steady her breathing. A few minutes later, Philip and Beth sat at the kitchen table, drinking tea and talking. "Perhaps this will sound like a platitude," Philip began cautiously, "but this man isn't worthy of your tears and suffering. He has never inspired confidence in me." "You speak as if you've seen him many times," said Beth, amazed. "As a matter of fact, I have. He's been visiting my unmarried neighbour's house for at least 2 years now. He disappears for weeks at a time, then reappears. Beth, may I ask you something?" "Yes, of course." "Do you have children?" "No." "All the better," Philip whispered meaningfully as he poured more tea. "How long have you been married? Don't think I'm prying into your affairs. You needn't answer if you prefer not to."
10 years, she replied with bitter resentment. "That's a decent length of time. Sometimes you live beside a man for decades and never truly know what he's capable of. That's life's harsh reality."
"Yes, you're right. As sad as it is, it's true."
"I thought my husband was away on business, was certain of his fidelity, yet there he was with another woman. Philip, are you married?"
Philip's face darkened as he replied in a sombre tone. "I was married. My wife fell ill a 1.5 years ago and died. I'm left with a 12-year-old daughter. For her sake, I want to sell this apartment and move far away. We can't breathe here. The memories are too present."
"I'm sorry, Philip. I didn't know." Beth apologized, blushing. After another half-hour of conversation, Beth thanked Philip for his tea and support before leaving. The city streets were congested with traffic. Behind the wheel, she reflected on life's unpredictability. She had discovered her husband's infidelity and his likely impending fatherhood. Though still painful, the initial shock had subsided. Beth thought of Philip and smiled involuntarily. She'd never been so open with her clients before, always maintaining professional distance. But something was different this time. She and Philip had talked like old friends. Beth rarely trusted men so quickly or opened up to them. She sensed this intimate conversation had been revealing for Philip too. It touched her to think of this handsome man raising a teenage daughter alone, and how he had defended her today. Before sleep, she reviewed the day's events and considered how to handle future encounters with her husband. One thing she knew with certainty: she could never forgive or forget his infidelity, which was nothing short of betrayal. Beth's prediction proved correct. She encountered her husband by the elevator a week later while showing the apartment to a potential buyer. This time she maintained her composure and walked past Mickey as if he were a stranger, leaving him stunned. She repeated this during subsequent encounters, noticing from the corner of her eye his bewildered expression as he watched her pass. Philip's apartment sold quickly. By then, Beth had grown close to this kind, educated, tactful man with his wonderful sense of humour. In his presence, she could forget her painful past and smile at life, believing in better days ahead. She had already found a suitable country house for Philip and his daughter. Then one day, she met Philip's daughter. The girl turned out to be a reserved but well-mannered and quite intelligent child. Beth even managed to make her laugh, which pleased and surprised Philip immensely. After finalizing the country house purchase, the girl became hungry. Philip left her with Beth and went to the nearest grocery shop. He returned with sandwiches, juice and donuts. His daughter asked to eat in the yard on the grass, and Philip and Beth gladly joined her. That day, for the first time in a long time, Beth felt she was living the right life and smiled to herself at the thought. She realized she had fallen in love with Philip and had grown deeply attached to his daughter. Soon Philip and Beth discovered they couldn't live without each other and began dating. To Philip's surprise, his daughter quickly warmed to Beth and began to trust her. Beth divorced her husband and moved into the country house, the same one she had found for Philip, not knowing then that she would eventually call it home too. After 8 months, the lovers married and welcomed their son. When the boy was a year old, Beth took him to a clinic for a checkup. There, she unexpectedly encountered her ex-husband. Mickey looked different. He had aged considerably, and his hair had turned grey. Upon seeing Beth, he rushed toward her, initiating an uncomfortable conversation. "Hello, Beth." "Hello," she replied reluctantly, holding her son closer. "I've been looking for you everywhere. They told me you got married and moved away." "That's right," Beth said flatly, realizing her heart remained unmoved by this unexpected encounter with her ex-husband. "I've made so many mistakes, Beth. I wronged you terribly. If I could have your forgiveness—" "There's no need for that. I've left the past where it belongs. What's done is done." "I can't forget. I turned my back on you, ruined my life, ended up alone. It turned out that the baby she was expecting wasn't even mine. She was seeing another man simultaneously, but when he left her, she claimed I was the father, afraid of being alone. And now I've learned I can't have children. This is my punishment for how I treated you." The door to the doctor's office opened as the nurse called for the next patient. Beth gathered her bag from the chair and her child's jacket, then walked toward the office, saying
to her ex-husband in a calm, detached tone. "We need to go. Take care, Mickey." The door closed firmly before the stunned, bewildered Mickey, who left with his head bowed, cursing the day he had met his mistress.